So the Mets unable to finish the series sweep of the Marlins this afternoon as they fall by a final score of 5-0. The Mets seeking their 7th consecutive win, their 2nd straight series sweep of an opponent, fall just short in what was otherwise a near perfect home opening weekend for the team at Citi Field. We're going to try to cover as much of it as we can. Before I do that though, I'm Tony Metro. If you guys are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and leave this video a like for all the latest Mets news, series previews, and recaps like we're doing right here. You can also just scan this QR code right here. That'll take you to all my different platforms where I post. YouTube is mostly where you'll find me, but I try to dabble with the others. So like I said, disappointing end to the series with the Marlins here this afternoon. Let's get into it. We'll start in the first inning. Tylor Megill immediately finds himself in trouble, walks the first 2 batters on just 8 pitches. He'd strike out the next 2 before an infield single would load the bases, but then bears down and gets Griffin Conine to strike out and escape the jam. It was a kind of weird start for Megill. He obviously had that issue in the first inning with his command. Then in the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 4th inning, he would retire the first 2 batters of each of them, but then allow base runners to reach and have to get out of more trouble. But overall, 4 scoreless innings through the first 4 for Tylor Megill. It was in the 5th where the wheels came off, as you're watching right here on the screen. Marlins breaking through for 2 unearned runs against Megill in the 5th. He'd come out of the game. Max Kranick would come on. That bloop hit there that would fall in and put the Marlins up 2-0. And that was really it because the Mets offense was doing absolutely nothing today. I mean, getting no hit by Max Meyer through 5 innings until finally Francisco Lindor led off the 6th with the Mets' first base hit of the afternoon. And that was one of only 2. Pete Alonso with the only other hit today for the Mets as they get 2 hit and shut out for the first time in 2025. We all know Edwin Diaz also giving up this bomb right here to Matt Mervis. 3 runs total for Diaz, who doesn't complete the 9th. He throws 30 pitches, so that was not exactly great to see either. But in the end, it is a 5-0 loss for the Mets. So let's talk about Tylor Megill first of all. Was this his best start? Definitely not, but he finishes with a final line of 4 innings plus. He walks 3 and gives up 2 runs, but I was still impressed with Megill's stuff overall. Obviously, the command was not the best that we've seen out of him in his first 3 starts of the year. Today, 56 of his 90 pitches, though, in the strike zone, that's 62%. And that's actually pretty similar to what we've seen in his first 2 starts down in Houston and then in the opening game at Citi Field against the Blue Jays last Friday. Against Toronto, 5 1/3 innings pitch, throwing 58% of his pitches for strikes. And in that first start against Houston, he threw 63% of his pitches for strikes. And the big reason why he's getting away with this so much is because he has a great chase rate. His opponents have been chasing, and that's because of some really strong breaking balls. He actually is in the 79th percentile of chase rate among starting pitchers this year. So great sign to see. It's been the curveball and the changeup that have been doing that for him. Maybe this pitching lab has finally figured something out. This is actually the first loss that the Mets have had while Tylor Megill started a game in his last 7 starts, dating back to last August, which is really the beginning of this turnaround for Big Drip. So hopefully that is the case. I overall thought it was a solid performance outside of those walks, and he still was able to bear down and use the strikeout pitch effectively. Unfortunately, those unearned runs, that's kind of why he didn't exactly have the greatest looking final line in this one. And that, of course, was because of the throwing error from Brett Baty. Baty moving to his left, trying to make a spinning throw to Lindor at second. It's wide of the bag. And that's really where everything kind of went to tough one for Baty. I mean, for him, it's his first actual error of the year. But we know that the eye test sometimes is more important than the actual box score. And we know that throw that Baty tried to make to Luis Torrens at home plate down in that finale against the Marlins in Miami should have been called an error, if not for a miraculous overturned call on replay. And things only got worse for him this afternoon. He strikes out swinging in the 2nd inning. He strikes out looking in the 5th inning and then hits a weak ground ball to third base as he takes another over 3. So Baty, now 11 games into the season, 3 for 27. That's a 111 batting average and 11 strikeouts. And the Boo Birds are out. at Citi Field. It has been highly scrutinized all over social media, his throw. When you combine the defensive miscue today with his really horrid start at the plate, the patience is wearing thin for Baty at second base. Here's the thing, though. It's not just the 3 for 27. It's not just this year. It's not just in 2025. It's that Baty has had multiple opportunities over the last 3 years, over 600 plus plate appearances in the big leagues, and he's a .211 hitter. He's had these performances in spring training that inspire our imagination to think that he's going to live up to that first overall draft or first round draft pick status that, we had for him coming out of that 2019 draft. But unfortunately, he just hasn't put it together, and we're frustrated as Mets fans. And it only gets worse when he has the throwing error like today. And if you ask me, the Mets really need to start considering giving more playing time to Luisangel Acuna at second base until Jeff McNeil gets healthy. And I'm not saying that Luisangel Acuna is ripping the cover off the ball. He's just 3 for his first 21. But at the very least, he's going to give you competent defense up the middle, something that I was never convinced Brett Baty could do. Number one, his body type just doesn't really profile for a middle infielder. Number two, he's not a second baseman. He came up as a third baseman. He only started playing second base a little bit in the minor leagues last year. And I said it early and often throughout the offseason when everyone wanted to hand him the second base job for his great numbers at the plate. His defense would eventually cost the Mets sooner than later. And here was exhibit A right here this afternoon. So another tough afternoon for Brett Baty. But he's not the only one who's struggling. The struggles of Mark Vientos have also been well documented here in 2025. He had 2 hits on Sunday and then 3 walks on Monday. And so we were thinking, okay, maybe he's starting to come out of it. Maybe this little funk is exactly that. And we're going to start to see 2024 Mark Vientos. But unfortunately, just 1 for 7 here in the last 2 games of the series against the Marlins. You can see right here on the screen, on that screen right there, that he had an opportunity today with Pete Alonso at second base, and he couldn't cash in. Overall on the year, the Mets as a team are struggling with runners in scoring position, just a 161 average, but Vientos is one of the main culprits for that. After that fly out there to center field, he's now just 1 for 16 with runners in scoring position. So overall, Vientos just 125 average and 40 at-bats this year, just 2 extra base hits. So not an inspiring series or really homestand for Mark Vientos either. And the Mets have also virtually gotten no production out of the combination in center field of Tyrone Taylor and of Jose Siri. If you combine all of the center field, second base, and third base stats from this team so far, a 129 average and 116 at-bats. No home runs, just 5 RBIs, just 15 hits. It has been a major struggle. And we know this Mets lineup, it's been feast or famine. You scored 10 runs yesterday. Today you get 2 hit and shut out. If we could just get a little production from 1, maybe 2 of those positions, it would go a long way toward having this team score runs on a more consistent basis. Because these 10-run games followed up by shutouts or 1-run, 2-run games, it's got to change eventually. And those 3 positions are the biggest reasons why this is happening so far. So, look, I know this was a lot of doom and gloom. Today was a tough loss, but it was mostly good on this homestand, okay? Let's stay in reality. The Mets just went 5-1. They swept a good Toronto team. They took 2 out of 3 from Miami. They've won 3 consecutive series now, and they're 8-4. So it's mostly good, and most of that is because of this pitching staff. And specifically, I thought the starters all really had solid performances another turn through. So Tyler McGill combines for 9 1/3 innings and had no earned runs between his 2 starts against the Jays and against the Marlins today. Griffin Canning was solid on Saturday. He put up 4 innings of 1-run ball. His ERA for the year sits at 2.79. You had David Peterson and Kodai Senga both deliver 6 strong innings. And then Clay Holmes and Tyler McGill pitched well enough for the Mets to win in both of those games. Holmes, fortunate to get 10 runs of support from his offense yesterday. Unfortunately, not the case today for Tyler McGill. That all being said, it's another series of another string of great starts for the staff, whose ERA, including the bullpen, who were solid aside from a rough go of it today for Edwin Diaz, now sits at 2.02. Their earned run average, it's the best in Major League Baseball, and more than half a run better than the Giants, with the second best ERA in all of baseball. So gotta love that. And of course, torrid stretch from Pete Alonso continues. He adds 5 more hits in this series against the Marlins and 4 RBIs. That 3-run bases cleared double against their bullpen yesterday really cracked that game open. So that was great to see. And then Francisco Lindor with another good series after his very, very early season woes. He obviously started to come around, and quickly he hits his first home run of the season to open up yesterday's game against the Marlins, and he is looking much more comfortable at the plate as well. So the Mets are 8-4 through 12 games, like I said, in a tie right now with the Philadelphia Phillies for first place, depending on their outcome with the Atlanta Braves this evening. So things are good in Queens. Today was a tough day. We had to go through some of the negatives, but overall, mostly positives to take away from this homestand as they get ready now for a road trip. They'll be off tomorrow before beginning a 3-game set with the West Sacramento, Oakland, Las Vegas Athletics, whatever they're supposed to be called nowadays. I'm not sure, but they'll be in Sacramento beginning that 3-game road trip with the Athletics. What do you guys think? What are your main takeaways from this series with the Marlins, or overall from the homestand that included the Blue Jays as well? What should the Mets do about second base? Is it time to move off Brett Baty? And if so, are you just going to hand the reins to Luis Angel Acuna permanently, or try to make it more of a split role there? And are you concerned about Juan Soto? I mean, we didn't talk about him much, and that's because his slash line is still tremendous, but not a lot of power. No runs driven in this series with the Marlins. Is he still trying to get comfortable in the blue and orange? What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. Tomorrow, we will have our series preview of the Mets series coming up with the Oakland West Sacramento Athletics. So be sure to subscribe to the channel, give you the of the team then. Let's go Mets.